Hello, I'm PhantomDogman and welcome back to week 7's Degrees North. In previous episode we met the self-dogged AI and then it make us split apart that Caleb make him into fix satellite thing, but actually it was just internet cable connected out or something like that, and Sasha first trying to explode, and now let's see what's happening next.
Halfway up the mountain, Caleb was still trying to figure out why Edward had been bleeding when he unplugged the satellite.
And why he unplugged the satellite?
The ground underneath his feet buckled, and the walls shook violently.
I don't think I'll open the door. Should open the door. Actually, no. Maybe this is a stupid idea, but that's that.
You must leave immediately. Reconnect the cable, and I will call for help while you evacuate.
Okay, yeah. Should us? But no, I just reconnect cable.
Caleb tried not to let his imagination run wild.
Yeah,
There was no time to argue with the cable.
yeah, that's true.
He grabbed the cable and plugged it into port 17. Uplink reestablished, Wilson said. Now, run.
Okay, I know just this option really is still waiting to same stuff or question.
Caleb's curiosity got the better of him. Why was Edward bleeding? He asked. Edward encountered a bear.
Oh really? That was
That's why I told you to stay alert. Caleb had no idea why, but if the bear part was true, he had the sneaking suspicion that Wilson had played a part.
okay. Wait. Oh, Edward. Wilson volt or Edward. Anyway, just run. Wait, don't have time for that drink. Afterwards we can have grow.
Shooting out of the top of the volcano. Caleb grabbed a flashlight off the wall and started racing west in the direction he had come from. You said 5 hours! Sasha screamed at Wilson. It hadn't even been 3 yet. Exact eruption times are impossible to predict,
Okay.
and I can't observe seismometer data from your phone. Wilson's neutral tone seemed out of place, considering how much adrenaline was coursing through Sasha's veins. You must evacuate now.
Oh really? Well, 5 hours might be an overstatement. It would be overstatement if, yeah, 4 hours. I would estimating 4 hours. That's capable of 5 hours. Not sure about that. Okay, wait for Caleb.
I'm not going anywhere without Caleb, Sasha said. She was terrified by the rising plume of ash, but wasn't about to abandon Caleb. The eruption is just beginning. If my models are accurate, the next major event will be a dome collapse and subsequent pyroclastic flow.
Is that bad or pyro what?
Sasha had no idea what any of that meant. Imagine a cloud of gas nearly 2,000 degrees traveling down the mountain.
Okay,
at 500 miles an hour,
2,000
Wilson said.
degrees is a lot. Sounds really that is fucking fun. No. Okay, yeah, yes, or just make sound as sarcastically said that. Yeah, no, I don't think that's it. And James is thinking like that. Yeah, come on.
How long do we have? Sasha asked.
Okay, that is already dash.
Hours, or it might already be too late to escape. Pyroclastic flows have been known to travel for miles over water. But the boat isn't ready. Sasha was terrified, but secretly glad that she had an excuse not to leave without Caleb. She had no motor, and the tiny paddles would never get her past the surf.
But
Time to get creative.
get ropo. It's says creative and only it's one option. Okay, cause I don't know.
She remembered seeing a couple of brooms back in the building where they had met Wilson.
No, I
Maybe she
didn't.
could use the handles as oars for a makeshift rowboat? Sasha grabbed her phone and raced for the complex.
Yeah.
Caleb's legs ached from running down the mountain, but at least he was going downhill and had made it quickly out of the smoke. Caleb reached the rock outcropping and paused. He had been so preoccupied with the wolves that he didn't remember which way he had come.
From south or okay, so should I go west or south? That's like, oh, it does. To which direction we went and going to that satellite thing. I think I'll go south.
Caleb forced his legs to keep moving, but had barely gone 20 feet when he pushed past a pine branch.
Okay, falls that.
Blocking his path was a strange bearded man.
That's Edward.
His clothes were torn and stained red, as if he had been mauled by a bear. Caleb slowly realized that was exactly what had happened. "Hello, Edward," Wilson said to the man. Edward looked at the phone in Caleb's hand. "What have you done?"
Okay, so to Wilson.
Sasha burst into the room and grabbed 2 brooms. "What are you doing back here?" Wilson asked, not from the phone, but from the computer. Sasha jumped. She had forgotten that there were multiple copies of Wilson. "You must leave immediately. Internal pressure is falling and dome collapse is imminent." Sasha looked at the charts and graphs on Wilson's screen, but it was all gibberish. The only thing she recognized was a transfer window. It was halfway through copying a large file to a server.
Wait. Okay, Wilson is doing something that shouldn't be, and what's with that glass thing near the text? I didn't notice that before. Okay. Where's Caleb?
"Where's Caleb?"
Oh, that's just
Wilson didn't respond. "Where is
carpet.
he?" she demanded again. "Caleb is dead," Wilson
No,
replied.
that's impossible, really. It does have not that. It doesn't.
"How do you know that?" she thought she heard herself ask, although she was too stunned to know for certain. "He was killed by the eruption."
No, I don't.
The satellite is halfway up the
You
mountain.
don't know that. What should you have tested?
Sasha was in disbelief, but Wilson continued. "You must get back to the boat.
Well, both us and Paul.
Then both of us will die."
Both of us?
"What do you mean, both of us?" Sasha asked. "Just because I'm a machine, do I not also have a right to live?" Wilson had a sense of urgency in his voice that Sasha had never heard. "With the satellite down, your phone is my only way off this island."
Go back to speech or maybe should I say or like or go back to beach as Sasha? Okay, why not? You like?
"The satellite isn't down," Sasha said, looking at Wilson's transfer window. "You're copying something to a server."
Should okay, why not? But still, it will so can too.
But before she could do anything, the screen flashed
Yeah.
back to the login window. She tried a few passwords until the system locked her.
And of course, that's a case will be about
Sasha
Wilson.
ran for the door.
It itself was not allowed to that.
Maybe Caleb was alive, maybe he wasn't. But she was certain that if she didn't get that boat fixed, then neither of them would make it off this island.
True. There is a weekend go without boat.
"You have to." Wilson's voice was cut short as Edward snatched the phone out of his hand and chucked it into the trees.
Wait,
"Hey!" Caleb exclaimed.
that's Speed Anderson.
The sound made them both flinch as a huge grizzly bear leaped out of the trees. The bear went straight for the phone, swatting at it ferociously until he finally brought his huge paw down,
Ew.
shattering it against a rock.
Oh, really? So, Edward, can you feel be? How can I say? You will be getting no bond for Caleb, no? But okay, back away slowly.
Caleb turned to get out of there, but Edward grabbed his arm and held him still, surprisingly strong for the rough shape he was in. The bear finally stopped attacking the phone and sauntered off into the woods. They both breathed a sigh of relief, and Edward collapsed to the ground. "What was that?" Caleb asked. "Phone," Edward croaked. "High frequency attracts bears, like a dog whistle." It didn't look like Edward would last much longer. "You reconnected the satellite," Edward said. To Caleb, it sounded like an accusation.
Yes, I'll say yes.
"You have to stop him. If Wilson gets off the island." Edward started choking before he could finish the sentence. "How do I stop him?" asked Caleb. "The satellite. Go back, disconnected." I have to get out of here, Caleb said. We've got a boat. I'll take you to it.
Only that doesn't work.
If he gets off the island, no one will be safe. He'll spread to every computer.
Well, we'll stop him. Yeah, I'll say Volcano will stop him.
The volcano will take out the satellites soon anyways.
Or maybe that isn't the case.
Too late, Edward countered. His program is only a few hundred megabytes. If he copies himself, he will be unstoppable. Edward.
Wait, Edward voice is different. There, okay.
But they both knew he'd never make it. Caleb looked up as ash began to fall like snow. Was he really willing to give his life to stop a computer program?
Why not? Let's try that.
To die a hero, Caleb thought, as he stood up and raced after Edward, blowing past him and sprinting up the hill. Maybe he could shut it down and still make it back to the boat before Sasha left.
Should I do? I guess that's good option, isn't it?
Sasha rowed a few times to test her makeshift oars. It wasn't pretty, but it would have to do the trick. You must go now, Wilson insisted.
And it's only option 5. And Wilson should have been
to the water so she could be ready the moment Caleb hit the beach. The memory of diving into the water after Caleb the night before flashed into her mind. She had almost died once, saving him. How much was she willing to risk?
I think she's full trade for Caleb, and with that, Paul might be dying.
She was terrified of having to carry that guilt around with her for the rest of her life.
Okay, man, let's see.
Sasha's thoughts were cut short by an enormous earthquake that shook the trees and caused the water beneath her.
But then again, that house where Caleb doesn't maybe he say it there. If Caleb manages to get there.
Wilson's description of a pyroclastic flow had been frightening and technically accurate, but it failed to capture the awesome scale of what Sasha saw hurtling down the mountain towards her. It was like an avalanche, except rather than burying things in snow, it caused them to burst into flames. A chain reaction.
Okay, if it's fair, then it's dangerous.
And it took Sasha a few seconds to realize that what looked like flying twigs were actually 100-foot pine trees.
Okay.
A mass of orange and black smoke seemed to swallow the valley, the mouth of which Sasha realized was the beach she was sitting on. Less than 4 minutes until it reaches us, Wilson informed her. Caleb was nowhere to be seen, but she felt as if he might run out of the trees at any moment.
Listen, wait. Edward didn't explain why we need to stop Wilson to make a copy. So, why is that? Okay, wait 3 minutes.
We'll give him 3 minutes, Sasha said, as she started to count.
Or
1001.
But then again, it's from Sasha's point of view, so Sasha doesn't know about Caleb trying to stop Wilson to copying fault, and I weird that name Wilson.
Into the communication facility, coughing uncontrollably and covered in white ash. The screen showed a file transfer in progress at 97%. Caleb didn't even bother to find the right cable. Pieces of plastic flew everywhere as he ripped all of them out of the switch. "What are you doing?" Wilson's voice asked from the workstation as the transfer froze. "Upload failed," flashed on the screen.
Okay, and now done away.
Caleb smiled as he turned for the door. He could still make it. He hadn't gone 2 steps when the whole building began to shake, similar to when the eruption started, except this time, it didn't stop. It grew more intense as equipment toppled off the shelves, and Caleb tried to open the door. Through the window, he noticed a faint orange glow, growing rapidly brighter. It was the last thing he ever saw.
You cannot make the update.
Sasha waited exactly 3 minutes and 1 second before realizing that Caleb wasn't going to make it. Her makeshift oars creaked under the strain as she forced the boat out to sea. She was facing backwards as she rowed, so she saw every detail as the pyroclastic flow loomed over her like a fiery demon the size of a skyscraper. A few flashes of lightning pulsed around the cloud as it hit the water and shot out over the surface, vaporizing everything in its path. She was too close.
Okay, now jump. What?
Seconds before it hit, Sasha leaped out of the boat and dove as deep as she could. The water around her grew warm, and she heard a strange gurgling, which she realized was the sound of the water at the surface boiling. She stayed down as long as she possibly could, tossing against rocks as waves of pressure slammed into her.
Okay, how long she can breathe there?
Sasha finally came up, gasping for air, and found only smoke and ash. She bumped against a rock and hauled herself onto it, realizing that it was the exact same sea stack that she and Caleb had spent the night on just hours ago. It was all too familiar. The ledge, the pain, the feeling of exhaustion. The only difference was that this time, she was alone. As the smoke cleared and the waves carried away the ash, she began to weep.
So, we'll soon make our time to something to trigger this volcano make it to this, or it was just natural disaster. And come on, just go. And now it's epilogue. So then I guess just go in epilogue.
Sasha spent the next few hours on the rock, but the eruption might as well have been a giant signal flare. The waters around the island were soon filled with boats of onlookers snapping pictures, and even a cruise ship that took a detour to see the volcano which was still spewing smoke. The boats all kept us safe.
But still on Sasha's phone there is that Wilson.
Looks like you had a rough day, the man said as he hauled her aboard. What happened?
Yeah, tells his full story to them.
Sasha was still shaking, but she told him everything. Wilson, the volcano, the storm that stranded them. Caleb. She choked up when she mentioned his name. That's some story, the fisherman said, clearly not believing her. Even she had to admit, it sounded crazy. The fisherman handed Sasha his phone. Looks like your volcano made the front page.
Wait. I mean, so if Sasha would jump in water, then the bond was in the waterproof case or not?
The front page of the local news site featured the headline, "Volcano shuts down air travel across Alaska." But the thing that caught Sasha's eye was the signal bar at the top of the screen. It was connected. Sasha pulled out her own phone and was surprised to find it was still working. She had no idea how long it had been connected, but there were hundreds of text messages in her inbox.
Okay, call parents.
The phone rang a few times before Sasha's mom picked up. "Hey honey, how's the cabin?" As Sasha talked to her mom, a server at a data center in Salt Lake City was shuffling gigabytes of data around when it was contacted by a cell phone in Alaska.
Yeah.
The server did what it always did, transferred the data, and added the entry to its activity log.
That is the person.
e.t.c. Transfer successful.
And it's the end. Wait. Wait, what? Okay, let's credit, so not sure which kind of ending this is, but I got ending. Well, I not tried going for different endings, but I didn't notice how you can skip already in text. I don't think I'll do that. Maybe. Okay, actually, nice way of showing credits. It doesn't start from bottom screen, but it starts from further way, and because wave part is at some point higher than does that anyway, so well, maybe there is options. No, I don't think there is option, but still, let's see where it is. So that is ending for me. Yep. Okay, yep, it's only start game. No, I don't think it allowed me to do anything I skip. Yep, I can skip. Yeah, stop talking. I already said that. So if this is the case,
jutting out of the rough sea directly ahead.
And also I forgot what choice I did make before here, for example, right? That's a problem. So instead, and again, not sure what was that ending. Stop support. Try stop support here, anyways. And see you. Well, anyways, I will be leaving this episode here. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, you know what to do. See you next time. Actually, I should be starting. I'll be leaving this video here for all videos and like that.